If you haven't seen the new film Soul by Disney, I would highly recommend it. I'm going to do a quick summary of the important key take-home message we can apply into our lives. I warn you now, there are spoilers for the film. Pixar have smashed it again with another great film brought to us by Pete Docter, who's previously provided us with classics such as Up, Inside Out, WALL-E, Monsters Inc. and Toy Story, so it already had high expectations. The story is about a music teacher called Joe who has a passion for jazz. For many years his ultimate goal was to be a musician on stage, but ended up becoming a teacher, but was still holding out for that one chance to make it. The story goes that he gets that chance to be on stage with a successful musician, Dorothea, but he dies before being able to do it. He then is desperately trying to make it back, as he believes once he gets on the stage and does what he's been chasing for so long, he will then be able to live and be happy. Long story short, through a big struggle, he makes it back and is able to fulfil his lifelong dream, and it goes well. But it's afterwards the main message gets relayed, where he says to Dorothea, "Well, what's next?" And she just says, "Well, we come back and do it all again tomorrow." This is where he then says he thought it would feel different, not really getting the change or happiness. No euphoria as he had expected. Then the big take home from the film when Dorothea tells him a story that she'd heard about a fish.
"I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, 'I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean.' 'The ocean?' says the older fish. 'That's what you're in right now.' 'This?' says the young fish. 'This is water. What I want is the ocean.'"
A lot of the time we think reaching an ultimate goal that we will then have happiness forevermore. That just doesn't happen with humans. Happiness is just neurochemicals in the brain. We only have a certain amount of these chemicals at a time and a certain amount of receptors, so it's impossible for an endless ongoing happy feeling. The maximum feeling of happiness you've had is the maximum you're ever going to feel. Happiness doesn't come and then just stay like we get sold in society. It is experienced throughout life and living, based upon our perceptions. Perceive something as good, you'll get more happy feelings. Perceive it as bad, we get less. And it's just this ongoing cycle throughout life. A lot of the time, we can't change situations, but we can change our perceptions and therefore our happiness. The issue mainly comes with hedonic adaptation, otherwise known as the hedonic treadmill. Say even if Joe had made it as a jazz musician and felt incredible after that first show, given long enough, he would just adapt to the situation. It would become normal and be perceived as normal as the appreciation fades, and it just won't bring happiness like before. And then it'll be moving on to the next idea, bigger, better, more consistent gigs. And it's not just situations, it's the same with possessions, house, car, lifestyle. We can then spend our whole life chasing, we forgot to actually live. As Ferris Bueller says,
"Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it."
During the film, Joe is mentoring another soul, trying to find their spark and purpose. They question whether their purpose could be skywatching or walking, but Joe just says, that's just regular old living, until realising that this is such a big part of life, not to forget living. I am massively guilty of this myself. I'm forever making plans and coming up with ideas, projecting so much future. I often fall into the trap that is shown in the film. Many times I'll be walking my dog, in my head thinking away of plans for the day, my to-do list, the future, not actually looking up and being there, enjoying the amazing view right in front of me. The only way to get around this is to change the perception of our own lives and to remind ourselves to come back to the present and life and what we're grateful for. There's nothing wrong with working towards things and bettering your life. That's great and likely will make you happier and give you a sense of purpose. But it's realising that actually getting it won't make you feel that much different. My favourite quote by Margaret Lee Rumbeck is that happiness is not a station you arrive at, but a manner of travelling. This is where mindfulness and meditation gets so much of its buzz, because it makes you better at realising where your mind is, and so you can get better at bringing yourself back to the present, or back to what you're grateful for. Taking a more zoomed out approach rather than being too focused and lost in the everyday clutter of the mind. I'm taking ideas from films, books, people, and everyday life and exploring ideas of the best ways on how to approach life. Subscribe if you want to join me and check out some of these other videos.